Hello, hello. Some familiar faces, some not familiar faces. I'm very, very glad to be here today with you. I want to structure our session in a way that we can connect together and also give you a little bit of information and then the demo. And the structure is as follows. I'll introduce myself a little bit. Then I'll share something about the specifics of solution-focused team coaching supervision, maybe 15 minutes or so. Then I'll give you a short moment for questions, but we'll try not to do a lot of discussion there. But if you have like a question where you say, oh, well, I didn't get that, I didn't understand that, could you explain some more about this? I will. Then I'll do a demo with someone around 30, 40 minutes. And then we have this half hour of Q&A where I think breakout rooms would be good first for you to talk amongst yourselves. And because it's always easier, you know, if you think, oh, this was absolute rubbish, I don't believe a word she says, it's easier to do in a breakout room than to do when I'm present. So just for you to have some time to interact and wrap your heads around what you have experienced, and then we'll have 15 minutes or so to raise anything that happened in the breakout rooms to the whole group if there are remaining questions or concerns or whatever. So that's the structure. Intro Kirsten, intro Solution Focused Team Coaching, demo, breakout rooms, Q&A, 5 things. Should have put this on a slide, but didn't. I'm sorry. So who am I? Why am I speaking to you? My name is Kirsten. I am a master practitioner, EMCC. I'm also a master certified coach by the ICF. And I'm accredited as supervisor by EMCC and as team coach, both with EMCC and with ICF. So I have a very long list of letters behind my name. Like, doesn't that look cool? so many letters. Anyway, I learned the solution-focused approach directly from its founders, Insu Kimberg and Steve DeShazer. So I have around 22 years of working with a solution-focused approach. I founded the first academic journal in the solution-focused approach for coaching and training in organizations. And I live and breathe social constructionist approaches, post-structuralist approaches to coaching. That's where I come from. And I want to say in the beginning that I live it, but as a social constructionist, I wouldn't never, ever tell people that they also have to be social constructionist. So if you disagree, if you think, no, my approach is more valuable for me, that's completely fine. I think whatever two people who are trying to, if one person's trying to be helpful to another person, that's always going to end up with a better situation than before. So I don't want to judge efficiency, effectiveness, or any of that. But I also don't want to say that all supervision or coaching approaches are equal. We do different things, but we don't, and we think different and think in different ways, but we generally don't talk about that, I think, enough. There is a really, really good article out there around why in coaching, or that in coaching, we almost always ignore our philosophical differences. We are very nice to each other. And that sometimes leads to us not talking about differences. And I think we should, because we can learn from one another, but we can't learn from one another if we say coaching is only one thing and it's only one approach. A psychodynamic coaching will have to be different from a solution-focused coaching. It has a different theory of change. So that's why I want to alert you a little bit to the difference. Okay, so now, please raise your hand If you think it is important that a team coach observe the team. Quite a number of people think that. Okay. Now, please raise your hand now if you think that it is important that the team coach has hypotheses about what they observed. So if you think hypothesizing is important, please raise your hand. If you don't think it's important, don't raise your hand. Couple, but not everyone. Super. So then you can lower your hand, because I think these are the two most important ways in which solution-focused team coaching supervision and solution-focused practice in general may be different from other approaches, where we in solution focus look at what is happening between coach and client, between supervisor and supervision client, rather than building hypotheses of observation. So we are always in interaction and co-creation rather than an intervention. It's not about presuming that we have an outside position. It's about the co-creation and the engagement. And there is a very famous saying by Steve DeShazer, who is one of the founders of the solution-focused approach. It was like, if you have a hypothesis about your client, take 2 aspirin and wait until the fit is over. So not saying that you shouldn't, again, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have hypotheses. I'm just saying that in solution focus, that's not what we tend to do. Now, I hope I've made you a little bit curious, and I'll say a little bit more about the solution-focused team coaching supervision approach. So as I said, solution focus is a social constructionist, post-structural, postmodern approach. So these are all big words. If you want to go look them up, I think it's a very worthwhile endeavor if you haven't seen them before. But what it in a super condensed nutshell, what it means is that we focus on interaction. We focus on, or our worldview is, we are who we are through others. So we wouldn't be looking at an internal individualist, essentialist motivator, for example. We wouldn't go, okay, this person has low self-confidence, they need to raise their self-confidence, as if the self-confidence was hidden here somehow. Where did I, somehow in here, there is some self-confidence? No. What we would say is this person lives in an environment, this environment, the social environment, provides them with opportunities to display behavior that others then see as self-confident or not. But it's always, we always take into account the social environment of the person, and we're not about analyzing an individual. The cousins of the approaches are narrative practice, collaborative practice, dialogic practices, and discursive psychology. So those would all fall in the same kind of buckets. And the main differences, as I've already tried to formulate in the beginning, is that the supervisor, the coach, the team coach will engage with the team rather than observe it. So we wouldn't think that an outside position is possible and or helpful for solution-focused practice. Not saying that it's not helpful in other approaches, just in our approach. And that it's about co-creating a better future with the team or with the supervision client, rather than an intervention on someone. In coaching, we often have this idea of, oh, I'm going to learn a new tool. You know, lots of people are very, very fond of tools, bright, shiny, new tool. And I don't like the word, because for me, a tool implies, okay, I have a screw loose. I'm just going to take the right tool. I'm going to geek, 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 geek. And I'm the doer, and the toolee, the person the tool is being used on, has a tool that's being used on them, on him or her, or on them. And that is not what we're about. In my school, Solutions Academy, we don't call those tools, we call them dance moves. So, as a supervisor, I'm dancing with my supervision client. If my supervision client is standing on this leg, and I cannot move against this leg, doesn't work. I have to kind of coordinate and co-construct, co-creating, rather than me having a privileged position of knowledge over against my supervision client, over against the team, over against the coaching client. That makes solution focus a little bit boring, because we end up doing similar things all the time. But it makes it infinitely interesting, because we are always faced with a different situation. So no coaching client is the same. No supervision client is the same. We always are faced with a different reality, and we always have to tune into different realities, and that's the fun about it. It's not so much intellectual, for example, like maybe systemic, where you would be analyzing the team. Then you have a lot to do as a team coach in your head, or as a supervisor. You have a lot of theories that you have to think about. And solution focus is a little bit more practical, more in the engaging versus observing side. These three: narrative, collaborative, and discourse and dialogic practices and solution focused practices practitioners met in the island of Galveston in Texas. And they were thinking, what unites us? And this is the declaration that they came up with, valuing pluralism, differences of view, rather than singularity of view. That links into the supervisor being a senior practitioner, hopefully being a senior team coach themselves, but always knowing that their experience might not fit the experience of the team coach. So it's a position of not knowing in the knowing. It's a position of valuing differences of view. And you see here, we value this more than this. It's not this is right and this is wrong. That wouldn't fit our approach. We value differences of state rather than fixed states. And like a diagnosis, or putting a person in a box, to say it like that, that would be cementing a fixed state. If a team coach or a team coach supervisor would diagnose their client in a sense, saying, they're lacking this competence. That's now they need to, I am telling you, you lack the ability to do good contracting, for example, then this would be a fixed state. You always lack that. And in solution focused practice, we would look at the differences. Okay, so you think you have difficulties contracting. Tell me a little bit about your experiences. When did you do it in a way that you were happier with? So when did you have difficulties? So we're trying to make it fluid, rather than you are bad at this. This is one description, fixed. Fluid. In some instances, you're good at this. In some instances, not. What can you learn from etc.? Which then also explains our preference for opening space and expanding choice. And I think that's really important in supervision, that the supervisor the supervisor invites the client to expand their choices. I mean, we cannot expand them for the client, but rather than closing space or removing choice. And I think that's a very strong ethical preference of ours, that more choice, more options is always better. And looking for generativity rather than deficit focus, looking for what can be done, what can be changed, rather than formulating deficits and getting rid of them, working toward a better future rather than patching holes. But I think that's something that most coaching approaches would subscribe to. So it's maybe not a big difference between solution focus and others. So this sounds a little bit theoretical. I want to try and mention how this plays out in practice and how we think about solution focused team coaching supervision. Okay, so you could say, sorry for my drawing, but I didn't know how to do it any better. So, okay, you could say you have kind of three levels in supervision. You have the client, you have the supervision client, and you have the supervisor. And in team coaching supervision, the first level that you have is you have the idea of a team coach being someone who observes the team and has a hypothesis and helpfully mentions these hypotheses. We see in the EMCC competences and also in the ICF competences that the idea is there that the team coach observes, the team coach identifies patterns, etc. So has all sorts of things going on in their heads about the team. And in solution focus, as I mentioned, the team coach would be much more focused on what is going on between the team coach and the team itself, and would be engaging rather than thinking about too much. So that's one level that's very important as a difference. And then in team coaching supervision, that's the same. In the solution-focused supervision, sorry, I switched the sides on this one. This one is the solution-focused supervision. We would be focusing on what is happening between the team coaching supervisor and the team coach. So the team coach may talk about their experiences with the team or their worries about what they're able to do or whatever other function of supervision they're coming to talk about. But the most important unit would be what is happening between supervisor and team coach. So they would be talking about what's going on for the team coach. What they would not be doing is together hypothesize about what is really going on with the team. And that's a difference. I'm not saying that this here is wrong. It's just something that we wouldn't be engaging in. And that makes the solution-focused way of supervising closer to coaching than a lot of other approaches, because it's really about what does this person want from the supervision and how can the supervisor collaborate with the supervision client in order for the supervision client to get what they want. Of course, supervision is not the same as coaching because supervision has different functions than coaching. I think the main difference of supervision vis-a-vis coaching is, for me, is an accountability difference. If somebody is your supervision client, you have more of a responsibility of quality assurance. If your supervision client really messes up and then says, well, but I was supervised by Kirsten, I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to feel worse than if a coaching client messes up, because I have no skin in the game of whether my coaching client is successful or not. That's basically their decision. But in supervision, I would feel accountable. I think it's necessary for me to feel accountable because supervision has this quality assurance aspect and people count on me. If I have a supervision client, I can't just let them do unethical things, for example. So if you're looking at the functions here, I like the normative, that's the quality assurance that I was just talking about. Formative, it could have an adult education aspect that you wouldn't have in coaching, for example, because somebody who's looking for a supervisor is usually looking for someone who is experienced in the field. And a restorative function where you can unburden yourself and talk about how team coaching may or may have not impacted the way that you are. And in the Lucas and Larcombe, I don't really know how to pronounce this name. We also have the ethical aspect in there. And some, as you can see here, managerial and commercial. Some definitions, some even integrate like the business development aspect into supervision. For me, I wouldn't put that in there. I would think business development would not be a supervision function. But anyway, okay. What is important for me in this is that when somebody comes, a team coach comes to supervision to me, I have to figure out which of these menu points do they want? What is this about? Are we talking about quality assurance? Are we talking about you want to learn something? Are we talking about you want to profit from my experience? Are we talking about you are emotionally burdened by what you've experienced and you want to alleviate this burden? So in a sense, the supervision is what Ludwig Wittgenstein might have called a family resemblance. It has the same name, but it can be different things. And why am I posting this family here as an illustration? If you look at it, look at them, it's the Jones family, and they all kind of look the same. But if you are trying to find the one identifying factor of a Jones, you won't find it. You could say all Joneses have triangular noses. No, this one doesn't. All Joneses have spiky hair. No, this one doesn't. All Joneses have round chins. No, they all kind of look the same, but they don't share one defining characteristic. And I think that's the same with supervision. So in solution-focused team coaching supervision, we would always preface the whole interaction by what on the menu? Do you want number 102 with rice or without rice? Do you want this kind of supervision or do you want the other kind of supervision? So as to serve our supervision clients best. So that was my mini intro into the philosophy of solution focus. If anyone has I didn't get that question, like a clarification question, I'm very happy to answer those now. If you want to say, no, I disagree, save that later for the breakout rooms and for our Q&A session. And I have a question, has the process from 1986 not been changed? I only know Proctor from 1986. It's a very old reference, so I don't know if it's been updated.
Exactly.
Maybe you know.
No, I'm just like curious because, sorry, can I talk? Is that okay?
Yes, please, yeah.
So it's kind of protocols. Because like in 1986, we've actually gone through 3 different changes in industrial revolution, like 3.0, 4.0, and we are already on 5.0.
Yeah.
So team configurations have completely changed. So that is why I asked that question. So it's still a blind spot.
And there is not super much literature on team coaching supervision at all. I know that Larissa is writing on it and is researching it. So big shout out to Larissa. We are going to see much more literature.
So very interesting because it all hinges around the Tuckmans as well as the Proctor's model and things like that. But still, I felt slightly inadequate for the modern or the current requirements for supervision. So that's why I asked. Thank you.
So we have functions of supervision from 86 to 2015 in our slide here. Okie dokie. Any other clarification questions that anyone wants to raise? Thank you, Xenia. That's super. Updated by Hawkins and Showhead. Yes, exactly. But Hawkins and Showhead don't have a functions of supervision neatly defined model. Otherwise, I would have included them. So while you are thinking about clarification questions, it might be a good idea to now put in the chat room if you have a case or something about team coaching, supervision, a question that you have, if you would like to be supervised by me for around 30 minutes. Could be you have a case as a team coach.
Yeah, put your just little few words about it into the chat, and then Kirsten can pick one that
Yes,
is good for a group like this. Don't forget as well being recorded, so make sure you're happy being recorded.
yes.
That's great
So
being recorded. We can all learn from each other.
Yeah, and so don't mention clients' names if you that would be good. And of course, anybody who's watching this, even after our session today, will please not talk about whoever we have as a client. Larissa has Hawkins, developmental, supportive, and qualitative. Yeah, that's Hawkins show. Yeah. Thank you, Larissa. Then we have Alexander. When you ask your supervision client how to support them best, how do you present what is on the menu? Basically less. I just say, what would you like from this session today? Could be we talk about a case. Could we talk about something that's bugging you emotionally? Could be something that you're interested in your development as a team coach. Very simple, or it could be something completely different that falls under the remit of supervision. Just want to respond to Penny saying it's very black and white. It's black and white for the sake of clarity. I know that it's not that black and white, and I agree that observing can be part of the engagement, but it's a matter of I am not observing in order to find the right tool. I'm observing as I am engaging. Yeah, of course. So you can't not observe. We always observe. Okay, so I guess we go with Mary.
Mary, the floor's yours with Kirsten.
Mary, thank you for coming here and allowing me to be your supervisor for half an hour or so.
Thank you, Kirsten.
How would you like us to start? Would you like to tell about this case, or what's the best way for you?
Well, this is a bit of a moment of vulnerability in front of everyone. So I guess I would like to start by lowering the temperature and doing a little regulation of my reaction to 73 people on the call.
Okay. How do you best do that?
A breathing exercise that also allows for noticing where in the body I am feeling the vulnerability and the frenetic energy that goes along with it.
So maybe you do that if you want to talk about it, or just do it, whatever is best for you.
Maybe just do it.
Okay,
I'm going to close my eyes for just a moment and breathe into that part of my body where I do feel the nervousness.
Mm-hmm.
My feet are planted on the floor to be grounded. My back is straight. beginning to quiet a little bit. I think I'm on the path. Thank you.
Would you like to tell me about your case, or would you, we could also talk about what it is that you would like from the supervision session first, whatever is best for you.
Well, I'm trying to take a page out of what you shared. So the image of you and I in a circle and the team in an adjacent circle, but not interconnected with the circle that you and I are in, is what I'm attempting to bring into this particular moment. And I think I have my point here, my question. I'm going to give a little bit of a description.
Okay.
About the team, and I'm also going to describe my where I am in the relationship to the team.
Mm-hmm.
The team is made up of 8 individuals, and they are very connected by values that are common. They are, in my experience, quite evolved in the way in which they live their values as a team. And the complex circumstance is that their team lead, the CEO, has accepted another role in another organization. And the board of directors, the selection committee, has decided to appoint one of the trustees as an interim CEO.
Mm-hmm.
So the estimated amount of time to be in that role will be about 6 months. And the interim comes from a very different kind of background, and it did not onboard with the team in a way that is aligned with the values of the team. And there is a compromised trust that has occurred, and there is a great deal of concern about the fact that that team, no one on that team, is included in the selection process whatsoever. And so they are, the members of the team are on pins and needles and are very guarded about how they present and communicate when they're on the team. And they've been very open and very interactive and very solution focused in a collaborative and collective and to some degree, not only have they been collaborative and solution focused, but they've had a bit of a tolerance for disagreements, and they bring it up. So there's some healthy mechanisms in place that I find to be not the norm.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is that. In terms of the complexity of the situation. And my challenge in working with this is to maintain the co-creation, because there's some resistance to the co-creation, given where they are and what they're grappling with.
Is this also something that is part of their contract with you?
Mm-hmm.
To kind of to safeguard the co-creation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I must be clear, it's one thing to contract, it's another thing to translate into steps, actions, behaviors, expectations, what that looks like. So they have become a bit nervous. The ones on the team who are more guarded have become nervous in that milieu of having to co-create. They would prefer to be told what is going to happen by me.
By you.
By me.
Oh, okay. And that's not something, seems like it's not something that you're really interested in.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I am wanting to dance with what the dance card presents. And I also want to be future focused. I want to support them in the way in which they can co-create momentum toward what it is that is going to be sustainable for them going forward without a dependence on an outside force.
What's sustainable for them without having to depend on an outside. Okay. Do you feel like you've described this enough so that we can move forward with the supervision session, or is there something else that you would like to share and explore?
Yeah, thank you for that question. What I would like to share that I have not shared is I believe there are minimum one, if not two, I doubt three, but potentially three members of the leadership team who might be in an interview process to assume the next CEO kind of role. So that is an elephant in the room.
Anything else?
I think that might be enough for now.
Okay. And suppose we have another fantastic 20 minutes. What would your preferred way of walking out of these 20 minutes be?
The preferred way would be I'm thinking of an outcome.
If you want, yeah.
And an outcome would be to examine the ways in which the healthy, functioning, future forward boundaries can be set, not out of concrete, but that they can be set such that the team can recognize enough of their own power as individuals and as a collective, such that they will gain confidence, just enough to buoy them through this rather interesting 6-month time period.
And what would you know for yourself after, I guess, as a team coach, to facilitate this?
Yes. That I would
examine the ways in which you can go about helping them to do all of what you've just described.
That I invite them into where they might not be willing to go right now because of the amount of fear and preoccupation with the anxiety because of the change.
inviting them to set the boundaries, to be able to go back or even further on their road of co-creation and being just, am I getting the gist?
No, not quite.
Okay.
Within the month, we will have a full day together.
Okay.
And during that day, there are key areas of focus, trust being at the forefront, setting new norms. And it is during the design of how we're working together is set, and I'm always contracting.
Okay.
So it's also open to what emerges at different points between now and when we will be together for the full day. And there's a great deal of communication that is happening right now, one-on-ones. So the objective is to my vision is to support them in being able to quiet the noise as individuals and as a team, so that they can begin to recognize and become more to increase their appetite for moving toward what that potential is, and also their agency in moving forward with what is possible for them to do, given what their talents are and what their experiences together have been.
Okay.
Now, I know that sounds esoteric.
Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe, yeah. Because
would you like me to feedback what it sounds like to me?
That would be fabulous. Thank you, Kirsten.
I'm so impressed by your vision that you have for the potential of this team, and by you really looking for all the things that they can do and will be able to do. And it's almost like, yes, there is this change, but it seems like, okay, this is a glitch. I'm feeling kind of you have a lot of hope and appreciation for this team. I'm not sure if I'm picking this out right.
I respect them very deeply, and they have earned it over 14 years, and there are 2 newer members, so that is something that is different, but they have earned it. They are remarkable people.
Yeah, I can feel your respect for them. So in my role as your supervisor for the remainder of this time, what would you like me to be? Menu kind of share my experience, ask you questions. What would be best for you?
To ask me questions, because where I am wanting to be very clear is, again, in the boundary that I set. I can envision for them where I see that the possible openings and the path. There are many things that I would like to do with them on the day-long series of processes that we'll undertake and co-create. And I am acutely aware that this is their journey. And so I want to be I want to recognize that my role is to support them on their journey in ways that are nutritive and are going to help them leverage their own talents with greater clarity. And I am a figure it out kind of person, so I live in that world happily, and that's not what is needed here. It's they have to figure it out with hopefully a series of supports and invitations during the day and before and after, which will allow them to quiet some of the anxiety and recognize and become more grounded in the evidence of the power of their capabilities.
It sounds to me, as you describe this, that the boundary is clear in what you want to achieve, or is there something open still?
I'm worried about my own. I don't want spillage from me. I want to be clean. I want to be clean. How I am in this team coaching process. I want to
clean, not spillage.
Correct.
And what does that look like when you're like that?
Well, it occurred yesterday.
Okay.
It occurred yesterday. Series of one-on-ones, and the out of one of the exchanges emerged the desire on their one of the individual's part, the team member's part, to engage in a meaningful conversation with the interim because they know one another. And that is what they might want to begin to do, so that they are assuming a kind of action that emanates from their wisdom without heavy expectations. And they each have some ability to do something rather than be a bit. At times, these people have been apoplectic in the face of the speed and the nature of the changes. So that was an example of clean presence on my part and full agency on the part of one of the key members of the team.
And how did you contribute to that? By what you did, felt, thought, prepared?
The vessel, the container for the time together with this individual and everyone on the team is values based. It was an exercise in values and also on potential impediments that might creep in from time to time in the team when they are engaged now. And just some nomenclature and their how they were sort of bellying up to that bar, how they were working, and so that afforded a kind of safety and a kind of disclosure that allowed them to be very transparent for the most part. And it was the idea of talking with the interim actually came up not from me, but from the member of the team, and I was I reflected back the the strength and courage
Mm-hmm.
and the sense of purpose, and how the values for the team and the individual actually were being made manifest in the way that the process was being described for the conversation that they want to have with the interim.
And to think about you and what you contributed, I think might be a good idea, because then you might be able to do it again. And might a question like, how did they notice that it was now their turn to step into agency? So what did they notice about you that told them, okay, it's about us now?
Well, that's a beautiful way to put it. It's about us now. It's not about the chaos. It's not about the conflict of communication with an interim. It's not about being out of the selection process. It is about you. And how are you, as someone who is a vital part of a team, and how is that going to help the team? It is about you. Those are the words. Those are the words that I'm actually wanting to crystallize in my co-creating approach.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I think
And I don't know
just
if I answered your question, Kirsten.
No, you go wherever you need to go. That's completely fine. It seems like you are having insights. Would it be a good time to kind of grab some of those insights that you've had so far?
Yes.
So, what are some of the little gems that we're picking?
Well, from the heart, it is, for me, what is my intention as I am engaged in this process with the team? And how might I honor that, given the values that they have and the work that they do and the track record that they have? And I am picking up, it is about you, and those of course are placeholder words, and they're shallow until they take form more significantly. But it truly is about having an unknown entity, yours truly, who holds a safe space for that reality of how do they want to use more fully, tap into more fully, individually and as a team, what they are clearly capable of and powerful in the face of. Mm-hmm. Using the language of values and purpose, and what does health look like for this team?
Mm-hmm. I'm really so impressed that I mean, just even when we started, this clarity about it's about them, and it's about having clear boundaries and being clean, as you said, and sounds like you've made a little step into that direction of ensuring that cleanliness, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think I have. I know I have. And it actually is it might be a little bit of a silent mantra for me.
Is there anything else that could ensure that you keep your progress, that do you do things like reminders or anything that could help you carry on in the ways that you want to carry on?
Yes, I want to be mindful of the fact that what I have in mind and what I consider what is happening with them, that it's more easily accessible to them.
Okay.
without it being about me. Without it being about me, but to hold it lightly. And it's almost like looking up at a clear night sky and seeing stars, and as the focus becomes clear, seeing the patterns that then allow for identification of constellations. And
what a beautiful image.
And it's that. And I'm a tiny O observer with a lot of experience, and that doesn't really need to be anything other than, this is what I'm seeing. What are you seeing? And what if you're seeing something that is important for you? What does that signal?
Anything else?
No. You were so helpful and wonderful and accessible and clear. Thank you, Kirsten.
Likewise. Thank you. Everybody, please come back, open your videos. And again, anyone who is watching this and has watched this, please make sure that you do not share outside of this room or outside of the video that you are watching Mary's name and anything about this story. You can obviously share what you learned from this session. You can say that Kirsten is a lousy supervisor. That's completely fine. But it's nothing that can be attributed back to Mary, please. Okay, so now we are going to just brutally stuff you into breakout rooms and give you the chance to talk to each other about what you've just experienced, and then come back in around 12 minutes-ish. Anything that you want to raise as this group, in this group, anything that you would like to mention, ask. You can throw tomatoes and eggs, that's no problem. You can disagree. You can say that you have a better idea of how I should have done things. That's all fine. I know that I am not the best supervisor in the universe. I can always learn things. And also, the session with Mary, it was just a session with Mary. So it's not the best session in the universe either. So just feel free to share anything that you think might be helpful for everybody else and that you're interested in.
I wonder if I could come in first, actually.
Yeah, go.
Something which you did, which I really liked, is you paused and you made sure that, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Is there anything else? And then you made sure that she was completely empty, before you then moved on. And I felt that you got more out of her with that approach.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like doing that. If you need to go fast, go slow.
I see.
Adina, yeah.
Hello, Kirsten. Regarding to your disclaimer that you've just shared with us, I have this question. What would you do different in order to, for instance, improve your own assessment to the supervision session? That's my question. Thanks.
I think I got a little distracted by people coming in and out with the videos. So, okay. So that's something I would try to minimize next time. And which impacted my listening. I think it impacted my listening a little bit. So I would want to listen even better. And I think had we had a longer session, I would have liked to understand more about how Mary values her professional practice, because I got really curious about how she got so strong in her convictions about this team.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have invited her to explore that, because it seemed like a true gold mine. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. She will know. Is there anything that you would have improved, Adina?
I am not a supervisor. I'm just a coach. But I would pay a bit more attention to the closed questions. I noticed quite a few. So I think it's something that we should do it naturally at some point in time, after a while, I mean. On the other hand, I think it's also very important not to keep the coaching, the situation, the coachee in coaching too much in the transactional mood. So to extract him or her a bit earlier from there, although it's very attractive, you know, to become curious about more transactional details. But maybe those transactional details he or she could write down or record them and listen to them later. Whether the supervisor in supervision or the coach in coaching actually knows those details isn't that relevant, because it's more relevant to work on the strategy, on the macro level strategy. So those were my ideas. What do you think?
I agree on your points. I think so. Both are my attempts to partner with a client around the client's process. So I want the client to feel like they can tell me everything they think I need to know about the transactions, about what's going on, so that I don't stop them and I give them the space that they need. Sometimes just by laying out the tapestry, by telling the story, things become clear. And that's why I didn't interrupt. And the other is, yes, I use quite a few closed questions. And it's again an idea to partner, to say, would you like to do this now? It's a closed question, yes. But I want the client to be co-shaping the process with me. And for that, I need a little bit more closed questions. And I haven't found really super good ways of doing this more open, but I'm working on that. So thank you, Adina. It's a really cool observation.
Thank you too.
Stefan had his hand up next.
Thank you very much. And thank you for this great supervision session from the client and from Kirsten. And what I noticed, and this was quite interesting, Kirsten, you gave Mary the time to explain the story. And I was already a little bit nervous that, you have only 30 minutes and less than 30 minutes. And it was so nice that she created this space for her. And then you ask her, do you feel you have described it enough? And then she said, no, something is missing, which is not about, which you couldn't know, of course, we didn't know. And I was a bit surprised, okay. And then you still managed to partner with her and let her go to the next step and focusing on the words and the resources. And then, so it took off a little bit nervous. And then the face changed from Mary when, it came to the point where it said, it's about us, this thing, And then, so it was, for me, it was nice to see, okay, it take off, fly and land. We have only, a limited time available. And I think this was fantastic, in this short Yeah, that's the feedback, and it's really questions summarizing. Would it be a good time for you to raise some insights? So reflecting back and still staying in time. So I think this was the learning for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicola?
Just wanted to, I was persuaded to give you some of my notices. So first of all, I should say that I'm very new to coaching. I'm sort of moving down my way to qualification. And I saw the EMCC invitation, so I took it up. Really, just to echo what the other Nicholas said, is that you asked, do you think you've explained this enough? Is there anything you wanted to add? So I noticed that down, and then you asked again. And one of the things I really, really enjoyed was, in my role as your supervisor, what would you like me to do? Share my experience or ask questions. So I really did appreciate that from you. And to Mary, I really enjoyed, or I would like to take this into my own practice, was at the beginning of the session, you asked for some time and space to lower the temperature in the room, and you admitted that you were feeling vulnerable. So I very much appreciated that, and will use that in my practice, especially with the person I am pro bono coaching at the moment. So thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's not like my practice to do meditation in the beginning, but I think what's most important is that the client does whatever the client needs to do at this point, and whatever the client knows that they need to do. And I was very glad. Thought this was, because it also grounded me. Wonderful. So thank you, Mary. And I have a question. There's a question in the chat, like, how was this different from a coaching session? And I think now, please, I'm going to say something sacrilegious. Sometimes supervision is very much like a coaching session. It depends on what kind of function you want from the supervision. Do you want the adaptive education function? Do you want the restorative function? Then you would probably be very close to a counseling session. Do you want the quality assurance and advice type of session? That's what I mean by family resemblance. It's good if supervision clients can decide and know, okay, after a while, they know what's on the menu. They know what comes under the big umbrella of supervision. And I think it's important to be conscious of the choices that are out there and enable the client to use the time as it will serve the clients best. And in this case, she said, well, ask me questions. So I did.
I see that Nathan's put a comment in as well. He likes the AWE, the and what else. Ooh, lots of big feedback here from Alexander just popped in. But Nathan was talking about the and what else questions as well, allowing a coach to bring out a topic a bit more. Just having a look at Alexander's comment in the chat here. Wow, this is great. Alexander, do you want to unmute and come and say these yourself? Where's Alexander? There he is.
Hi.
There he is.
I think it was an amazing example of a supervision. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that Kirsten took time in the beginning, really slowed down, and let the coach express what I always needed to express, and also to breathe, to be able to do that at the end. By the way, kudos for sharing and for your courage. And it's a privilege to be able to witness such. I see a lot of similarities with the coaching, with the exception of maybe focus really on the interaction between the coach and the team. But also things like, how did you do that, on the resources of the coach, to explore that. And yeah, very nice atmosphere, very nice, a lot of trust, despite people switching on the camera and the technical things we sometimes deal with. So yeah, thanks a lot.
You. And you know what? It can be a really different experience if the client says, I want you as your expert, with your expert hat. Then the client maybe would say, okay, I have difficulties with this. And then I would still ask, okay, what do you already know? And what do you want to be able to do? So I'll still include a customizing coaching. And then when I know exactly what they need, I would say, okay, I have a couple of resources. Maybe here's a book, or here are things that I've tried. Which of these sound most like you? How would you like to edit them, etc. So there can be this idea of me sharing my experience as well. I think we're almost out of time, but I'm wondering if we can ask Emmanuel to say something. Nicola, you are the mistress of time.
No, that's fine. I was going to say, I think we can probably squeak Emmanuel's comment in as well. And I've got a question for you before we finished as well, Kirsten. But Emmanuel, please come off mute. I shall pin you.
It's okay. We are out of time. But sorry, I have a problem with my camera. So, however, I just want to say, Kirsten, that was excellent. Thank you. I really appreciated the approach you used in. Actually, for me, I appreciate supervisors using the approach of coaching instead of counseling, because that allows the coachees, in this case, the coach, to be able to explore the resources available in her. Once again, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Kirsten, thank you. I mean, this has just been an incredibly immersive session, and everybody here has engaged so well. And Mary, my goodness, Mary is superstar. But Kirsten, I wonder if I could finish this session before we go into the networking with just one question for you. What are you yourself taking from this 90 minutes just now?
I want to find ways to be even more present when there are interruptions, and to think about how much do I need to know about the client's issue, about the case, and more importantly, how much does the client need to tell me in order to have the feeling that I get her or that I get them. So that's something I want to be thinking about, without being too rigid about it. I mean, things will happen as they happen, but okay, what is too much? What is just enough? How can I see that it's just enough for the client? And how can I partner and co-create?
Thank you.
That's what I'm taking. Thank you for asking that question. It's a lovely question.
Oh no! I mean, we always want the dialogue series to be real dialogue, and for it to have impact on everybody, including the session leaders. So to hear that that's happened for you is great. That's exactly what we're all here for. So brilliant, and thank you to everybody who came.